Okay, we're in section 7.3 where we're going to talk about percents and decimals. When we're dealing with decimals and percents, it's about being able to convert one unit to another. So today we're going to be able to convert decimals to percents and also percents to decimals. So if you look here on the notes, here are the two ways that we can convert decimals to percents and percents to decimals. First thing you have to identify is, are we looking at a percent or are we looking at a decimal? The easiest way to determine that is if it has the percent sign behind it, it's a percent. If it does not, then it's going to be a decimal, whether it has a decimal point in there or not. So again, the first part, to move a decimal to a percent, first thing we have to do is we have to move the decimal point 2 units to the right. So right here I'm going to go 1, 2, put it right there, and then write the percent sign at the end. So 0.34 actually equals 34%. And then the other way, if we're going to convert decimals to percents by using 2 units to the right, the other way to make percents to decimals, we're going to move the decimal point 2 units to the left. So it's going to be 1 and 2. So if I have an open area here, I'm just going to write in a 0 and then put the decimal point in. So, and then the next thing we have to do is we have to remove the percent sign. So 0.4% actually equals 0.004. Okay? So we have some examples here on the bottom. And if they're a decimal, we're going to make them into a percent. And if they're a percent, we're going to make them into a decimal. So if I look at my examples A, B, and C, all of those are examples of decimals. The reason for that is because there's no percent sign behind each particular value. So since they are decimals, I want to convert them to percents. I have to move my decimal point 2 units to the right. So it's going to be 1, 2. So in this case, it's going to be 2.1%. Same goes here for B. Use 2 units to the right. So that means it's going to be 155%. Since there's no decimal point here, there actually is. There's one located right there, which means I'm going to move it to the 2 units to the right. 1, 2. I have to fill in the space, so I fill it in with zeros. So the value of 6 in a percent is actually 600%. Now, if I look at D, E, and F, those are all examples of percents because they have the percent sign behind each unit. So now I have to move the decimal point 2 units to the left in order to get a decimal. So here I got this and I go 1, 2. So 54% as a decimal is actually 0.54. 0.95%, move it 2 units to the left, 1, 2. Fill in the 0, so it's actually 0.0095. And 220% as a decimal, it's going to be written as 1, 2. It's going to be 2.2. Okay? These are ones that you could give a try on your own. You could pause the tape and see what you do. I'm going to show you how I would solve them in order to get the decimal as a percent or a percent as a decimal. So A is decimal, so I have to find its percent. So I'm going to go 1, 2. So this is actually going to be 64.1%. This is a decimal, 1, 2, 500%. A decimal, so it's going to be 1, 2 to the right, so it's 190%. D is a percent, so I want to make it into a decimal, so I have to move 2 units to the left then. So this is going to be 0.27. This is a percent, so it's going to be moved to the left, so it's 1.84. And this is a percent, so I got to move it to the left, so it's 1, 2. So this actually is 0.0055. This here is a way of making percents out of repeating decimals. So the example that they give you here is the fraction of 1 over 6. So if you take the fraction of 1 over 6 and you write it as a decimal, what appears on your calculator looks something like this if you were to type in 1 divided by 6. And that is actually 1.66666, which actually here it's, in a sense, it's 1.6 repeating. So right now that's a decimal. So if I wanted to write this as a percent, so I'd make it look like this. So here I'm just writing it as the repeating decimal, or so it's be 1.66666 and so on. If I wanted to convert that to a percent, again, I'm going to move my decimal point 2 units to the right, so it's going to be 1, 2, and then it's going to give me a value. That's not right. 1 divided by 6. I'm sorry, this decimal point should be located right here. That's my fault. So let's just erase this. So 1 over 6 actually equals 0.16666. That's better. And then if I were to convert this to a percent, I'd move it 1, 2. So the decimal point would be located right there. So the actual percentage of 1 over 6 would be 16.6 repeating percent. You only write the repeating bar sign on the first repeating digit to the right of the decimal point. You don't do the repeating digits on the left-hand side of your decimal point. Okay? And then terminating ones, you just convert to percent by rounding to the nearest hundredth, as long as they're, not too large of a percentage. Let's see here. What's the example that they gave us? Was 9 divided by 5. That was what, 1 over 8. There's no rounding there, so 9 over 5 equals 1.8 as a decimal. Move it 2 units to the right. 1, 2, that equals 180%. Okay? So here, I have some examples that we want to convert fractions to decimals. So when we convert fractions to decimals, first thing I want to do is I want to convert all my fractions to decimals before I convert them to percents. I'm sorry. I want to convert them to percents. So 7 divided by 8 as a decimal, this equals 0.87. And so in a way, all I have to do is convert this to a percent. I have to move this 2 units to the right. So this equals 87.5%. 5/12 written as a decimal looks like this. It's 0.416, and here's the repeating sign. So when I convert this, it's going to be 1, 2, so this is going to equal 41.6 repeating percent. 11 divided by 6, written as a decimal, is 1.83 repeating. Convert this to 1, 2. So this is going to equal 183.3 repeating percent. Remember, you only write the repeating bar on the right-hand side of your decimal point. You do not do it to the left. Last one is 5 over 4. This as a decimal is 1.25. 2 units to the right, and it's going to be 125%. Okay. So here we're going to find a percent of a number. We want to convert the percent into a decimal, and then we're going to multiply. So the question they ask us is about 5.2% of the 8,460 visitors to a tropical resort last month registered to try parasailing. Approximately how many visitors registered for parasailing? So when they say convert the percent to decimal then multiply, here's what we're going to do. So I find myself with 5.2%. 5.2% as a decimal, all I got to do is move this 2 units to the left. 1, 2, and then get rid of the percent sign. So this is going to be 0.052 as a decimal. And all I have to do is just multiply this by 8,460. Then I will know approximately how many visitors registered for parasailing. So if I take 8460 and multiply it by 0.052, I get a number of 439.92. And since you can't have 0.92 of a person, we'll round this up to 440 people or 440 visitors. Okay. Last one. So a total of 600 tickets were sold for a raffle. The probability that your friend will win the prize is 7%. How many of the raffle tickets did your friend buy? So if there's 600 raffle tickets, I want to know what the percentage is of winning if I just hit buy one. So if I get 1 over 600, I want to find out what 1 over 600 is as a decimal. So this is gonna equal as a decimal 0.0016 repeating. So if I move this 1, 2, so this is a what? 0.16% chance of winning if you buy one ticket. What I want to know is what is it going to be when it's 7%. So I know that buying one ticket is going to be a 0.16 repeating percent. So I want to determine what it's going to be when it's how many tickets it's going to be for 7%. So I'm going to go 7 over 100. I'm going to write this as a proportion, and it's going to equal 600 on the bottom because there's 600 tickets, but I don't know how many tickets I have to buy to get that 7%, because 7 over 100 is 7%. If you remember, it's the ratio of that value over 100. So if I cross multiply, I'm going to have 100 x equals 600 multiplied by 7, which gives me 4,200. I divide both sides by 100. That means x equals 42. So that means this person would have to buy 42 tickets to have a 7% chance of winning. And if you just double check that, you put 42 divided by 600, you should get 0.07, which you do. Okay? And that is being able to convert decimals to percents. Hope this helps. Until next time.